So I guess I'll call on Yaron. He'll give a little background on who we are, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Ephy. He's being modest. He's the guy, he oversees all of our partnerships, and I'll share with you a bit about what we're doing now, but I think a lot of it is thanks to Ephy. So thank you for bringing him and keeping him. Also to you guys, Ephy's parents' friends.
Hey, that's my prom date. Don't
I'll be back.
That's true.
Yes.
See? Okay, so good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me and us. My name is Yaron Waksman. My dad made Aliyah to Israel. He was in the Yeshiva College in Melbourne. Made Aliyah in 1974. Met my mom, and here we are, happy and lucky in Israel. Amazing friends. Amazing family, sorry, very bad friends growing up. Got drifted away and whatnot, and Baruch Hashem, at the age of 16, I found out about the sea and surfing, and really changed my life. Back in the day, the good kids used to go surfing. They pulled me into a youth movement. They all went to do a Shnat Sharut, a gap year before the IDF. I went with them. They all went, we did a Shnat Sharut in Gdal Emek. They all joined the Nachal Corps, the infantry. I went with them. I was also a commander, and I finished with the IDF, and I started learning education and educational management, and finished with my Oz program. But the most important thing is that 12 years ago, I met this guy. His name is Omer Tulchinsky. He's my co-founder. Amazing guy. And we said to ourselves, maybe we could use the things that we took from surfing as a tool to cope with life challenges. And I want to ask you guys, what's so special? You know, we're here in Baltimore, but what's so special in the sea and in surfing, in your point of view? What's unique compared to, I don't know, basketball or any other type of sport? What's so, yeah.
I mean, surfing, you have to be really patient for whatever conditions are.
You gotta be patient.
Force it.
The conditions are changing.
Balance.
Balance.
Peaceful, it's really peaceful, the environment
It's
and the actual sport.
Okay, cool. What's else? What's with the sea? What's the thing with the sea? What's so special about the sea?
It's in tune with the rhythms of the earth.
It's in tune with the rhythms of...
with the earth, or like, like
It's
a
part
natural
of, it's a
process.
natural, okay, yeah, it's not like a hole, right? It changes all the time. It moves. It has no borders, no boundaries. And we would claim that it's the ultimate therapy arena. Think about the sea. We go to the sea to cry. We go to the sea to celebrate. We go to the sea to do tashlich. We go to the sea to think. It's like, it's a place, it's a very special place for everybody. You could love it, you could hate it, you could hate the sand. And surfing within it, it's very special, and we try to demonstrate soon enough. So little did we know, 12 years ago, crazy story. We started off trying to bring 10 kids, pull them out of the streets, out of using drugs, selling drugs, whatnot, using surfing. The deal was very simple. It's still on till today. We will teach you how to surf. We'll give you everything you want. All you got to do is go back to school. That's the deal. 10 out of 10 kids, after a full year that they come on a weekly basis, graduated that year. Till today, they all finished. They have bagrut. They done the IDF. Some of them still work with HaGal Sheli. It was a crazy year. Both Tom and I, we quit our jobs. We took out personal loans, bought surfboards, wetsuit gear, and everything. And this is how we started off with HaGal Sheli. Everybody thought we were crazy, and we started knocking on doors and seeking for location. Knock, Herzliya, Tel Aviv, Southern Tel Aviv, Jaffa, Bat Yam. And after 3 months, we found the first location. And it's a cool story for next time. But ever since, we've built this multi-step, multi-year process where at the beginning you consume, you take, and you grab. And then you learn to know one another. And we'll share about it in a sec. And then you start to volunteer and pay it back. We are working with four different populations. The biggest part used to be youth at risk, working with welfare ministry and shelters and domestic violence and rehab, etc. The most extreme cases, trauma survivors. By the way, we are for 6 years a formal contractor for the Ministry of Defense Rehabilitation Department, working with veterans who are suffering from post-trauma with clinical psychologists, people with disabilities, any type of disability, and special education. And if you could go backwards, in 12 years, today it's the biggest surf therapy organization worldwide. We have 450 staff members, 100 of them are clinical professionals, and we just crossed 18,000 alumni literally today. Through our work, last year Ephy and I visited the White House to showcase a study conducted by Ben-Gurion University about the impact, and we'll share about with this in a sec. And we also got the seal from the president here in Israel, not here, but in Israel, for a significant contribution to the state of Israel during Iron Swords operation. This is the map of Israel. We all know it. You could see every flag symbols where we have a site. So all the way from Nahariya up north to Ashkelon, and further south in a bit. Every black dot symbols where the participants are coming from. It's very much diverse. We have Jews, Christians, Muslims, boys, girls, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, secular. Everybody come. And you can click it. And this is we were talking about the process. So what do? We meet on a weekly basis. The first program named is Lighthouse. You come, you learn how to surf, you rebuild your self-esteem, you're in a group. And you start to, you get up on the board, you get smashed, you try again, get smashed, and again, and again, and again. And in the end of the day, you understand that everything is possible. All you gotta do is just pop up one more time, just one more time. And the second year, you see this one, the second year, you meet the other. So the first year, I don't know how it's here in Baltimore, but in Israel it's pretty segregated. Like if you're Orthodox from Ranana or secular from Herzliya, you would not study at the same place. And you get not many places to meet and understand and know one another. And I assume, I don't know, but I assume it's very much polarized. I know it's in Israel very much polarized. I don't know how it's out here. But when we go out surfing, we all go, same surfboards, same wetsuits, riding the same waves. We don't have to agree on anything, but we can definitely go out and talk. And then you getting certified surfing instructor and paid forward. This is like the full circle Ephy was mentioning. And HaGal is a social business that helped us to host mainly businesses, but also delegations that coming from abroad for half a day at the beach with surfing. And the workers of this social business are alums of HaGal Sheli, meaning instead of shipping drugs with a scooter, okay, like shipping weed from place A to B, come work with HaGal Sheli, you'd earn 1/3, but it's kosher money, it's legit, you don't need to look over your shoulder. You click. And I'm going to rush a bit because I want to showcase what's happening in the past 2 years. So everything is measured. It's working incredibly. We have 9 out of 10 that graduate with schooling. The national average for youth at risk is 55%. This is HaGal Sheli's delta. And it's even higher than the national regular kid in Israel. You're likely to have a better bagrut if you join HaGal Sheli. National average 76%. We go 80%. And most of the populations are youth at risk. It's not political, but Jews that are eligible to join the IDF, 80% join the IDF, and it's way more than the national average. And it's for us, it's a way to understand you know, when you join the IDF, you have more odds to do better in life. It really, it's a big thing. We can elaborate later. And the impact lasts for years and years and years. Can you click two more clicks? This is us, 58% males, 41 females, 1 non-binary, 20%, by the way, are Muslim, in correlation to the population in Israel. A kid is a kid. You're all welcome. And we partner with both ministries and significant amutot, non-profits in Israel, meaning positioning ourselves both in a very official part, but also very non-official part, allowing us ourselves to do whatever is needed. This is our board chaired by Major General Roni Numa. We have Chemi Peres on our board, an amazing crew. It's all on our website. You can Google it later. And I wanted to explain, maybe you could open like Salesforce for a second. It's all there. No, okay. It's all data driven when we measure everything, so we can track. We were non-profit of data for Salesforce. So we know every kid, where he's coming from, what's the need, every payload, every activity. After the payload, there is a report, so we really know everything. And everything was great till October the 6th. On October 7th, we lost both Tamar Semet. She was a team member at HaGal Sheli. She got slaughtered at the Nova Festival at the Migunit Amavet. We also lost Ofer Karbiv. May rest in peace. He was an alum of HaGal Sheli from Bat Yam. Did the entire process, become an instructor. He was a combat fighter, a paratrooper. And that day was very hard for every Jew worldwide. And I really remember talking with I don't do reserves for the past 5.5, 6 years already. I got injured in my knee, nothing heroic, nothing dramatic, and I can do everything, but they don't call me no more. Tuli, my co-founder, is elite. He serves in an elite unit in the Navy. Him and his brother. Shabbat morning, they go straight to the south. And a lot of people went to reserves, and I remember talking with our chairman, Major General Numa, and we knew that we have a significant tool that could help people cope with acute trauma. We didn't do it in scale, but we knew we had, like, I wouldn't say a calling, but we knew we have to act, and we want to act and want to do something very, very fast, because you're much more effective if you go straight ahead. So we have this talk. Sunday we had a Zoom call with all of our team members, and we have those surf trucks. It's like a big truck. Mainly we have like places on the beach, the site like on the beach, but we also have 3 surf trucks. It's like imagine a big truck with surfboards and wetsuits. That's it. Remember going down south to Ashkelon. We have that one down south in Ashkelon, rocket firing, trying to engine the Masai, the truck. Doesn't engine. After a while, it worked, going straight to Shvaim Kibbutz. Shvaim Kibbutz was the kibbutz where the kids from Far Aza got evacuated to. We were there on Monday. The residents of Shvaim Kibbutz that got evacuated, Kfar Aza is one of the most hard-hit kibbutzim in the Otef. So they started coming on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to Shvaim Kibbutz. We were there, Ephy was with me, we were there, 22 professionals. And it was a complete chaos. It was a living nightmare. Just imagine it. People go, there are funerals, there was between 5 to 12 funerals a day. 5 to 12 funerals. The kids needed to choose if to go to their best friend's funeral or their uncle. And imagine the scenario, and we are there with the surf truck. מה קשור? לא קשור. And people started coming. People started coming, and we started knocking on doors, trying to pull the kids out of their homes, going into the sea, talking, hugging, crying. And I think what happened was a big, big lack of trust. And trust was broken. And you know how to regain trust? Any ideas how could you regain trust? And I'm sure all of us got, unfortunately, our trust got violated at least once. How do you regain trust? It's something that's very hard to rebuild, right?
You be there.
Yeah,
Show up.
Yeah, that's the connection.
You be there, right? You show up, and you stay. And you know, people just from all around the world wanted to help. They had no idea how to do so, so they sent staff, or they came and they did a barbecue, or they did it. It's all mitzvah, it's all chesed, it's all good. Those kids from Kfar Aza, they needed somebody that they can trust. So some people blame the government, some people blame the IBF, some people blame, I don't know. Those kids lost their trust within their own parents. Okay, it's hard to understand. Like, my own parents could not keep me safe within my own bedroom. Now this is something that you cannot live with. You can't. So the way to recover is to go, to be there, to create new experiences, and to reflect. And this is exactly what we did. So we stayed there every day, all day, eating with them, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, going to a surfing, going out to a funeral, coming back, then the Shiva, then the Shimris, and everything that we've all seen. And it became very, very significant, very, very rapidly. 100 people from the Kfar Aza little kibbutz came to HaGal Sheli. The challenge was that Kfar Aza talked with Be'eri. Be'eri talked with Netiv Asara. Netiv Asara with Reim, Sderot, Ofakim, Netivot. The community from the Nova Festival started coming to us, and then released hostages. We're working now with 22 released hostages that come to HaGal Sheli on a weekly basis. And reserves, and security forces. And all of a sudden we found ourselves adding over 4,000 more people. 4,000 more people joining HaGal Sheli with no idea how to manage it, how to fund it, how to hold it. By the way, I'm talking like it was in the past, but it's still true. Really, really scared alongside our populations, because you know, in times of crisis, the gaps are just getting bigger, because important things are getting neglected. So could you click? This is us live from today. 4,133 participants in 345 groups. You could see this red big one, 19 groups only from Be'eri. By the way, Be'eri kibbutz is a very big kibbutz. Girls, boys, which center, age groups. So you see, it's got really, really stretched. People approached under 12, under 10, 200 kids under 10. We never worked with kids under 12 or 10. You could see people 21, 26, 35, 50s, 60s, 65, 65s and above. So we have groups for women, we have group for Oreh Vayeled, a parent and a child, etc., etc., etc. And every group has its own syllabus, its own curriculum, making sure you get what they need. And I will let Ephy share about the research made by Ben-Gurion University, because I think it's important to understand, and his English is far better than mine. His understanding is far better than mine. Okay.
So, you know, essentially, like Yaron said, it wasn't sort of just out of the blue. There are a lot of incredible impactful organizations that really showed up post-October 7th. At the end of the day, it's a nonprofit's time to shine, especially when the government is has its hands tied, or could even say is not functioning. And what do? That we show up. But essentially, it was over a decade of experience already working with individuals with complex traumas. If you look at the stats with at-risk youth prior to that, it's not just what's at risk. It's very much this very broad general term for someone that could come from any background. It has nothing to do with socioeconomic background. It has nothing to do with family support. It really is a cross-cultural thing that you come from a very well-supported family, but because your parents are working very hard and you're never home, that you get into trouble, or you could come from a very bad neighborhood and you get into trouble. That's very broad. And oftentimes, a lot of people that come to us are dealing with, it could be abuse, it could be a wide variety of reasons. So we took that program and the program that we were a contractor working with veterans with PTSD for the 5 years prior, adapted it to work with acute trauma, because the way that you work with PTSD is completely different than acute trauma, especially across age groups. You can't just hit the ground running and say, one size fits all. That's not the case whatsoever. Even within all the communities that you saw before, what happened in Be'eri is completely different than what happened literally next door in Alumim, which is completely different than what happened across the street in Saad. It's very different, so you want to keep everyone in the same sort of group so that it's a relatable experience. We work off of a model that's a group therapy model, where the power of the group, the power of the community is relatable, and it also gives an incentive to each individual to show up, not necessarily just for themselves, but also for the group. It's a very, very, very powerful tool that oftentimes is missed when you're doing one-on-one therapy. And beyond that, the power and sort of the cool factor, I guess, of surfing breaks all stigmas and all taboos of what traditional therapy might be. What we see a lot of times with a lot of soldiers also is, my dad was in Yom Kippur, he's fine, it's just shell shock. It's, what's shell shock? You have PTSD, my friend. Like, you're not shocked. It's completely fine, and it's very healthy to go out and discuss what you're feeling. But the whole idea is we don't want it to develop into PTSD. We want to keep it where it is, address acute trauma while it's still acute without developing to something much more severe, which have major economic implications and messes up domestic life and so on and so forth. And we didn't reinvent the wheel whatsoever. The American Psychiatric Association has something that's called PCL-5, which is a long questionnaire that's administered to patients to determine essentially the severity of trauma. You can boil it down to 4 factors, the first being avoidance behaviors, second being intrusive thoughts, nightmares, flashbacks, and so on and so forth. The third being your ability to regain or not regain trust in your surroundings, and the fourth, alertness. So if you were walking down the street and you heard a motorcycle rev its engine and all of a sudden you tense up, that your body physically tenses up. And within the first year, together with Ben Gurion University, we measured the effectiveness of the program to see how it helps or does not help participants. And we see that between 75% and 82% said that it helped reduce the first 3 factors. We purposefully did not measure alertness, understanding that it's still an ongoing war. The environment is very triggering, and who would have thought that it would take this long for the war to, if we want to call it end. We'll get to that in a sec. But we're very, very pleased. But the question is, what happens 2 years later? Especially considering that the environment is still extremely triggering. You have reservists who are in and out of deployment, unable to find any sort of sense of structure or let alone normalcy. They might be physically at home with their kids, but their body and their mind is still very much on the battlefield. And what we see is that even after 2 years, especially in this triggering environment, that it's still very effective in reducing those 4 factors. We see that compared to a sample size that did not receive any treatment, that 73% compared to 20 said that it helped reduce intrusive thoughts, 78 compared to 15 helped them reduce avoidance behaviors, 80% compared to 15 helped them regain trust in their surroundings and negative changes in cognition, and 63% compared to 10 helped them reduce alertness behaviors. We're very, very pleased. But I think if you look at where it's most effective, one being the measurement of very high functioning, very low symptoms, and 5 being the most severe with very high symptoms and very low functioning. And especially in this 3 to 4 range, if you look at the pre versus post, that was extremely significant, where just under 20% within the first year, a reduction all the way down to just about 5%. And over here in the 3 range, from just under 40 all the way down to under 20. So it's extremely, extremely significant. But considering where we are, a lot of people say, the war is over, all the living hostages are back. While on one hand, Israeli society feels like it's finally October 8th, and many feel that they can actually go out and this is the time for them to receive help and ask for help. For us, this is day 1. We just had a meeting a couple weeks ago with the head officer in the military who's in charge of all mental health. He said that post 9/11, you have any idea how long it took for people to reach out for help?
When was the peak of
With the peak of people asking for help? How many years after? 2? What else? 9 years after. So if you look at a national tragedy like 9/11 in a country like the US, imagine something like that where it's a true societal trauma where forget about 6 degrees of separation. It's not even a degree. I mean, everyone was affected. And that from now until maybe even the next 9 years, that 9 years after is the peak. This is the time that we need to be at our A game and continue providing this high quality and accessible program. When I talk about access, that really sort of goes into my personal story, where a lot of the people that we know after 2014, after Tzuk Eitan, that they came back to the States because they were tired of either one, having to try to prove that what they experienced was traumatic and that they deserve help from the military. So they just were like, well, why, you don't believe me? Should I just come back? And those that even started the process in itself is extremely traumatic. You have to prove that what you went through is traumatic. You have to go through committee to committee to committee in order to get a certain percentage of the support that you actually need. And if that's in 2014, you would assume that by now we would have learned something from the past. That's not the case. It's definitely a lot better. But what we see is, it's understandable the government, just like anywhere in the world, has its hands tied. They can't help every single citizen. And that's sort of where the nonprofit sector has to step in. But even in order to get your foot in the door, that you're eligible, you have to meet a very small, strict set of criteria. So you have to be in the first circle, meaning brother, sister, siblings, or parents, in order to even receive help from the government. But what about cousins? What about best friends? What about just friends? What about aunts, uncles, grandparents? The list goes on and on and on. And that's where we step in. That we work both with official channels who have already gone through, whether it be the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Welfare, whatnot, where they referred to us for therapy. But we also work with all the resiliency centers, the municipalities, a lot of community centers and nonprofits for military units that do the initial filtering of who needs help or who's interested in receiving help, and they refer to us. The whole idea is to expand access and allow for a high-quality program that's scalable, like ours, with high-quality professionals to step up and be able to work without the pressures that, you know, a very overbearing and swamped, semi-socialized medical system oftentimes cannot keep up with. And that's where we're stepping in, and the road is very long, but that's sort of where we are. And part of that idea of continuing to provide very high quality and accessible care is to continue expanding the program and providing more centers for more individuals to show up. And Sharon, is that? Okay. So we'll show a video in a sec.
So showing video in a sec. So just to understand, the communities now from the Otef, most of them came back either to the original settlement or to a substantial one. And we're going to watch a video about our effort now. It's the biggest, it starts with Karina Angel. She came back from captivity, and her girl also came back. She also had HaGal Sheli. And
I might need your microphone.
okay.
The place to good time is their home. Now Zikim and the HaGal Sheli is the place where I can put all my thought and my pain and be now. And the HaGal Sheli is the new place for us. Is a safe place to us.
From the 7th had an effect in the sense of everything became a lot more immediate. Everything you want to do now, there's no time to wait, because you never know what's going to happen.
For over a decade, HaGal Sheli has delivered research-backed surf therapy programs for more than 16,000 trauma survivors, youth at risk, and people with disabilities. Together, we restore emotional resilience, regain trust, and a sense of control, one wave at a time. We use surf therapy to prevent acute trauma from developing into PTSD.
Basically, what came after was a very long period of time of me dealing with feelings and symptoms that I didn't feel before. It was a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I couldn't recognize it. I didn't know if what I'm feeling is real. I didn't know how to deal with it all by myself.
This unique program takes these teenagers into nature, into the sea. They're actually teaching them resilience, how to cope with the sea and coping with what they're dealing with right now.
Our Ashkelon Center is already at full capacity, with many waiting for support. For these families and survivors, Zikim isn't just a beach, it's their home. Right here, in Zikim, where the pain from October the 7th is still raw, where 19 lives were brutally taken away, HaGal Sheli will open a new surf therapy center.
Thanks to the HaGal Sheli, I start the process of the healing, the group, the sea, the struggle, the power. They gave me a lot.
Backed by extensive research that we did with the University of Ben-Gurion in the Negev, we know for sure that our program creates a real powerful change.
Zikim is the next chapter. What we're building isn't just a program, it's a permanent, scalable infrastructure that will strengthen communities in one of Israel's hardest hit regions. We're looking for committed partners to help us bring this vision to life.
HaGal Sheli told me that even if you feel when you're stuck in a rip, you can always just get around it, get back on the board, and ride the wave.
Okay, so I think now is a good time to open it up for some questions, comments, things that you want to say.
Excuse me. How long on average does it take someone to learn how to surf?
That's a great question. It depends on what level you want to go for. But the minimum for HaGal Sheli is 15 weeks, 15 sessions, and you can definitely right away.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, where do I sign up?
You're all welcome.
I think one of you mentioned that they're, like, the reason that you sort of keep them in groups by kibbutz or by town is because each of them had very different experiences on October 7th. Can you say a little bit more about, like, what some of those differences are besides, like, the actual, you know, what happened, what units came or didn't come, but, like, what about the treatment, I guess, is different?
Right. First of all, the way we work, it's called the system model, SEA STEM. S stands for shifting structure, meaning the C. The C that is not anticipated, you do it once a week because there is a structure. E for emotional, we do a lot of talking and using and making room for every type of emotion. And A stands for anchoring, and it's all done in a system. So, for instance, Nova Festival survivors, okay, they had their experience. They needed to run, etc., etc., etc. Lots of guilt. Should I do this or that, etc. And you gotta address the needs that they are going through, rather than kids. Rather than another group of a parent and a kid, that you want to strengthen the relationship and the trust, rather than a soldier from the IDF that came back. And even within the units, you know, some units, there were incidents that needed to be debriefed. And some units, the challenge would be being away for so long. You know, they call it war-life balance, like work-life balance. So you go in, you go out, you go in, you go out, 3 months here, 3 months there, etc. And what's going on with my wife, what's going on with my kids. So every group, we try to identify the challenges and the needs, and then the curriculum adjust accordingly.
I was noticing that on your data, like where some of the participants are from, that Ashkelon is like one of the biggest locations, and just given, you know, we have folks from the Associated here, and like given the Baltimore-Ashkelon partnership, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like what Ashkelon has meant to HaGal Sheli.
Amazing, yeah. So before the war, we had something very, very small in Ashkelon. Sigal, by the way, it was like a surf truck that stands, and Sigal came to visit, and we're like, we cannot do it with the city. We need to. Can you talk with the mayor, etc.
Sigal Azrieli, who
yes.
is the Baltimore-Ashkelon partnership.
Yes, and she did. And a year later, little less, the war started, and everybody got evacuated from Ashkelon and the region. And we knew that they will return someday, so we needed to build something much, much more significant there, which we did. Today, it's one of the biggest surf centers, probably in the world, by the way, surf service centers, because all of the communities from the Gaza Envelope came back, and now it's like, it's full on, like every day you'd come, Sundays to Fridays, any time of the day you'd see groups. Just to understand, you know, Nir Oz Kibbutz is one of the 4, how they say it, kibbutzim. 1 out of 4 people got either slaughtered or kidnapped there, and you know, it's a small kibbutz. There used to be 416 people there before the war, 1 out of 4, meaning 300-ish. You know how many of them are now at HaGal Sheli? 120. 120. So it's kids who are 6-year-old till the adults, they all come. And they, over there, by the way, the program is again different because they wanted to do something with the community, just for the community. So it's very much, the entire process is for Neo Oz with the clinical social worker that we've built together. So I think, so Ashkelon is a big thing for us and for HaGal Sheli. And that's what allowed us to be there at the most difficult times. More questions? Okay.
So you spoke about fractured trust
Mhm.
as being one of the critical issues. What about survivor guilt? How does, I mean, very different experiences, and I'm just wondering if HaGal Sheli is able to address survivor guilt as well.
Yeah, it pops up, absolutely, 100%. You know, what if, and I think it's going to the sea, maybe you could try and answer yourself. What happens when you go to the sea? What happens when you go out? Did I catch the wave? I didn't catch the wave. Waves as opportunities. You know, the thing about the sea, who would you blame, right? Like, who would you blame for your... and I think it normalized so many things, you know. None of us wanted October 7th to happen, okay? None of us obviously wanted it to happen. It happened. Now what do we do with it? Now how do we cope? How do we rise up again? And I think, you know, hopping on the board again and again, going out, meeting people, talking with people, sharing these things. You know, one of the guys, is not in that video, has a very, very, very challenging story because he was in the Nova and everything started, and you know what he did? He just went on his car and drove. All of his friends did not make it. He keeps talking with himself about, should I stay, wait? This is something he needs to carry throughout his life, and I think being able to share it is step A, and being able to be in an environment that does not judge him and make room for it, even though in the back of your mind you could think this or that. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, life is not easy. It's not easy. It's not all pink. It's not fair. And I think going out there to the sea, understanding what's, you know, you're not God. What's within my ability? What's not? And I think it makes it helps live your life in a much healthier way, and also acknowledge my actions, and, you know, make room for, none of us is perfect, right? I guess. So this is us-ish. I think what's important for us to say is, first, thank you for having us. Thank you for everything you do for the community here, and also for Israel, regardless of what you guys are doing, or girls. I think we only have one Israel. This is the truth, and we gotta keep it. We gotta keep the people. And we know it's not easy. It's not easy anywhere in the world. It's not easy here. We've been following. We've been reading what's going on here in Baltimore and America and elsewhere. And I think we gotta stand strong and just be together. This Bet Ha'am is a place of gathering, of talking, of. So I think it's very, very important, because the sad truth is that nobody is going to take care of us. So we got to take care of ourselves. This is my opinion. And, you know, be good and be kind, and toda raba raba. Thank you.